Hi, Jayna. Thank you so much for helping with my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Nathan. I'm Jayna, and I am a scientist who doesn't work in the science field anymore, but I do legal stuff these days from home. But I do keep track of science things as a bit of a nerd, from science fiction to science fact. So I'm pretty excited about your project. I checked it out today on the website, and it is super cool. So I'm quite pleased to be part of it.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, I, had originally conceived it as being a cure for social distancing because I've been working from home for the past few years. And so
Same.
I was planning to do them all in person. And in middle of March, I had to come up with different plans.
Well, this is a good plan.
Yeah. So you were into chemistry, right?
Yes, my degree's in chemistry.
And I'm trying to learn chemistry right now, actually on my own. So I might have to come to you with some questions.
How's that go? Well, it's been quite a while. How's that
It
going?
fits and starts, you know. Some days it's like you sit down, you focus on it, work a whole bunch of problems, and then you leave it off for a few weeks. So but
Yeah, and then you're like, what was the name of that reaction again?
I know, yeah. But you were talking about the internet access. You're on satellite. Um,
Yes,
and did you know about Starlink?
I signed up to be a beta tester.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm really hoping that comes through because they just posted their, speed test from the other day where they did UPLA speed test, and I was like, soon, please.
I was kind of wishing they had that when this COVID thing happened because I would have gotten it with an RV and then just kind of
Yes,
traveled around. Would have been so
that
cool.
would be amazing. But yeah, I live in a very rural area, so I'm really looking forward to when it finally rolls out.
Um, let's see. So NASA's planning to put astronauts back on the moon in 2024. I was wondering if you'd heard about this.
Yes, yes, I'm super excited. Um, Particularly if a woman gets to be on the mission, I would be pleased to see the first woman on the moon in my lifetime. That would be a truly huge step forward for all women, and hopefully people of color as well, because the first missions have all been, white males. So, it would be great to see today's diversity off planet even. So, and it's been even, gosh, almost a decade since anybody's been to the moon, even other countries. Yes.
Well, if you're talking about humans,
Yeah,
last time
humans,
was
it's been a very long time, but they had some, unmanned missions to the moon but even the unmanned missions, it's been such a while.
well,
Uh
China actually has a rover up there right now that they're driving around.
oh, that's really cool. I knew they had landed, like, was it 2013?
Yeah, they had one probe and rover then, and then the year before last, they had one that's been operating all year long, and they have plans to do actually a sample return mission later this year to actually go collect some moon rocks robotically and send them back to Earth.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's this other service that NASA is working on. It's called the Commercial Lunar Payload Services Program, where they want to put all these experiments on the moon, and they're contracting with private companies to do it. I was wondering if you heard about this.
No, now that I haven't heard of.
Yeah, there's two American companies that are supposed to be landing probes on the moon next year, Astrobotic and Intuitive Machines. So that should be
what,
exciting.
what are they planning to experiment with on the moon?
So I think each one of them definitely contains like a dust sensor. So kind of understanding and characterizing the dust on the moon and what kind of uh, uh, you know concerns that may raise in terms of safety to the spacecraft and to the astronauts. In terms of other stuff, I really don't know. I should know that, but I don't. I'll have to go find out.
Next research project.
Next research, yes. But I do know that, you know, they're like a package delivery firm, you know, these companies, and they deliver these things for NASA, but then they're free to use any spare capacity however they want. And like
Ooh.
Astrobotics is doing this thing with DHL, the package delivery company,
Yes.
and they'll send like a, you know, a quarter, yeah, a dime size thing to the moon for you for like $450.
Have you decided what you're sending?
But I was thinking about taking these interviews that I've done so far and putting them on a little SD card, micro
Oh,
SD
that
card,
would be,
and sending them.
yeah. And then we would be there. We would be
It,
in space. At least,
exactly.
at least my likeness could make it.
I hope so. I don't know how the micro SD card is going to do with the radiation and the heat and the cold.
True, true.
So
But it could work. I mean, we, Voyager could still be out there broadcasting.
I know, but it was designed for this.
Yeah, I'm sure there were radiation shields. Maybe you could wrap it in some tinfoil. That
Some
seems to work,
tinfoil.
right?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. So, um, are they definitely going to make it, do you think, by 2024? It just doesn't seem like a lot of time to prepare for a whole, lunar mission. I mean, that's only 4 years.
Exactly. Yeah, but you know the thing that's supposed to be getting them to around the moon, the SLS and the Orion, and incidentally, you remember Jeffrey Perkins?
Yes.
Yes,
Is he working on that?
he's working on the Orion capsule.
Oh my, he was always so brilliant.
I know, and we know him.
Yeah, rocket science.
But yeah, so that's going to get them around the moon, and then from the lunar orbit to like the surface of the moon, they have three different teams kind of competing to create that lander, and all three of them are making really good progress. So it's not impossible. With space, it's unlikely, but it's not impossible.
I like not impossible. Or like Walt Disney said, it's fun to do the impossible, which also works.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. But it's a little different this time around, right? Than the last time. We have two
It
billionaires who really want to go do stuff in
it,
space.
it is. I the last time, the biggest push for it was, the president. And this time, I mean, yes, our president has made some statements about space travel and space exploration, but his base isn't that big into it. So not a lot of change has come from his statements about what he would like to see in those areas as far as funding from Congress or anything like that. So it is nice to see the individual step up and get us more toward the future in this area.
Um, so do you know any aspiring astronauts?
No, I don't.
Yeah. I
You?
think I mean I want to go.
I mean, it would be an honor to do that, but I don't know if I would necessarily want to.
What's holding you back? Like why?
Just imagining all of the hassles of, daily life that you take for granted here, being able to turn on a light switch and it always works, or simply going to the restroom easily, uncomplicated manner, or I don't know, the thought of sleeping in zero G also seems rather weird. I mean, you're just floating, maybe strapped down to something so you're not, it just seems awkward. I don't know. Maybe I should just see if I can get into the one of the airplanes that'll simulate zero G. Maybe I won't up Chuck on the flight just to see
Well,
what it feels like for 30 seconds.
30 seconds, yeah. Me and my two sons, we actually did that.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Well, how was it?
Well, so I was really concerned about upchucking, vomit, comet, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I didn't eat anything like the morning of. And then I went there and they're like, you know, is there anybody here that didn't eat anything? Of course, I raised my hand. They're like, oh, rookie mistake. You need to make sure you eat something. It just needs to be non-acidic. So they had some zero G compatible food, there. So we ate. They said, all your adrenaline gets going. You need your calories for that. But it was fantastic. I didn't feel nauseous at all. The only part that really felt uncomfortable was when you went from zero G to kind of like the heavier gravity and then back. But like the floating around part, maybe it was just the excitement, kind of like blocked it out. You're like, I got to really enjoy these 30 seconds,
Yes.
Never, never before had you had so much pressure to enjoy so little time.
Did you do any wild acrobatics or did you just float?
Well, so we did like the hamster wheel. That's where you kind of use your hands to crawl up the side and around the plane. So that's kind of neat. We did like the Superman pose. We did twist, turns. And I would tell you that if it wasn't for my eyes being open, I wouldn't even know I was turning. It's just you have no reference.
Yeah. Now, did it, when you're seeing it, does it look like what the movies portray being in space would look like?
I could show you the videos. I'll post them online after this interview and tag you on it so you can see. Hey Jayna, this is
Awesome.
this is us.
So,
I
what are
tried to
you most
I tried to convince my wife to go, but she said somebody has to live. So
I could see her saying that. So, what are you most excited about for the new manned mission to the moon?
I'm excited that it may not end. That we're going to go there and find ice in these permanently shadowed craters in the south pole of the moon. We're going to learn how to take the regolith and the rocks in the moon and refine them down to things that we could build stuff out of, and that will really start like the beginning of the kind of like the space age that we dreamed about in high school and middle school.
Yes, like a lunar base eventually. That would be
Exactly.
because I would be most excited. A lot of our telescopes are hindered by Earth's atmosphere. So just having more telescopes that are on the moon pointing away from the Earth, looking for asteroids and things that, head toward us would be pretty awesome as well. Just, the applications can be endless. You're only limited by your imagination with something like this. It's, it's great. There hasn't been like such great there's been some launches up to the space station, but not a major launch where we're sending people to do unexplored new things like they did in the 60s, where everybody would gather around their televisions with bated breath and watch these things. And it would be great to see a resurgence in the love of science from something like this, to like open the eyes of kids and see their wonder and wonder if they could be the next person that goes to the moon, because I don't think that kids wonder that anymore because we haven't been to the moon in so long, and so they don't think it's something that they could dream about because we don't go anymore. And if we started going again, then kids would get excited about science again, and who knows where that could take our society as a whole. Science is
Uh,
the best.
Absolutely. And it's kind of interesting, back in like 1969, where we had Neil and Buzz coming off the lunar land, the lunar lander and making those first steps. I mean, we pretty much had three nationwide television stations. There was no such thing as like streaming. There are TiVo. We only had like maybe one or two newspapers per city. But I think we could go to the moon and nobody would actually, I mean, there would be a large segment of the population that wouldn't even know about it.
That's also true. That is also sadly true. Yes. Um, but one would hope, always hoping, that it would make society better to have people have a cause that they could get behind to advance science in that way. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
I think so, but it feels like there's this outreach component that we have to really go out there and proactively do. And I was wondering what you think it would take to kind of reach a broader set of the community.
It's hard to say what makes things go viral these days in that way. And I'm not exactly, as someone who's in that slight area between Gen X and millennials, I'm still more Gen X when it comes to social media, even though I've had a computer almost my whole life. But being an introvert, I'm not big on social media. So like what's to make something go viral on social media? That's what it would take to reach the younger generation. So because that's all they do. That's where they get their news and their info. And aside from the my favorite meme to come out of the Martian landing was the second star to the right meme for the kid's haircut who was in mission control, who had two stars on his head. Did you see those memes?
Right.
So that went kind of viral because it was humorous.
I didn't see the meme, but I saw the guy with the mohawk. Is that the guy you're talking about? And he
Yeah,
had, yeah, yeah.
he had two stars, and so the meme would had a picture of him, and it said second star to the right and straight on to Mars.
That's
So
awesome.
there are small things, small things that'll hit, but how do you engage the younger population? And I'm sure you remember uh, when the Challenger happened, we watched it in school, so you will have a lot of that where schools watch these things. And I think because our generation did watch the Challenger explode in a classroom and they didn't know how to deal with that they kind of stopped watching them. I don't remember gathering around the TV to watch any launch after that. And hopefully people can kind of move past that incident, because it's been a very long time, and we're all fine mentally, I'm sure. But accidents happen and tragedy does happen, and I think shying away from that doesn't help any of the kids either. So I think it's more important to watch these things in school and teach them about why it's important to show your work in math because it prevents things like this, and why you have to why science is important, and what these things can mean for them as an individual, and what they not everybody can play sports, and this is the cool thing that we scientists do, and we've stopped showing that in school. So now they don't know that there are cool things to do besides just being an astronaut. It took 1,000 other people to get even a few of the parts together, much less just thousands and thousands of people work at NASA, more than are in mission control, more than you can see. It's amazing how much science is involved just in the blueprint, just in, aside from machining things and putting them together. And science is so much more than you can even comprehend for a lot of these little kids. And just seeing it, and it's all of its amazement as it finally all comes together and goes up into the sky and heads toward the moon, I think would be inspiring for a whole new generation.
Yeah, and it's not just NASA are the big contractors that are hiring now. I mean, like Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos's company. I mean, they're like hiring like gangbusters in SpaceX. And to your point, it's not all like engineers and technicians. It's project managers. It's people who
Yes,
could put together documentation. It's people who can coordinate training. And there's even a listing on SpaceX is one for cook and barista. So
absolutely. They it made one of the missions stand by, coming back into space because the coffee pot on the main floor broke, and they classified it as, necessary equipment. Had to go get a coffee pot so that everyone could stay awake as they brought the spaceship back. So yes, a barista is definitely mandatory for these things.
I know I would love to be a barista at SpaceX and maybe chit chat with all the people every day.
Right?
But I think in terms of something going viral, I think if we sent a dog to the moon, that would get everybody's attention.
you know, um, a dog's been done, so maybe it's time to do like a cat.
A cat, except cats that they really are only happy as like the top animal. They don't think they would be willing to be part of the crew.
That's true. That's true. Maybe something even cuter. There's actually a game I like to play called Hedgehog Launch. So maybe if we actually launched a hedgehog and introduced the game that you can play, it would be even better.
Yeah. Or I mean, they played golf a little bit on the first mission. What if they really played golf or
Yeah,
tried
like
tennis or something? Or volleyball, maybe volleyball. I just see
you
them
know,
like hitting the ball and it's like, oops, and they're like waiting, because of the reduced gravity, and they're like, okay, it'd be a really,
well, they
really slow game.
they say baseball is America's pastime, so maybe you just have to like have one pitch the ball to them so you can see the ball coming in slow motion, or maybe it would come really fast and kids can write papers on what they think the ball will do in the moon's gravity, and have someone try to hit it with a bat and see how far it'll go. It'd be amazing.
Or making a moon castle out of the dust and stuff.
Well, they have to bring some water with them to make it into mud.
Uh, Maybe I hear it's like the particles maybe are magnetized or what have you, so maybe you could use magnets to
Oh, that would be fun too.
kind of interesting. So
It's like a magnet castle.
yeah, but I mean that's a big challenge, right? I mean, sending the first woman to the moon is great. It's a big milestone, but once you've done that, you know, you can't really. I mean, you should definitely do it again. I'm not saying only one, but but it like the second time isn't a milestone like the first time is, and it's really a difficult conversation to really explain why make all this investment into space. And I was wondering if you had like a good thought.
I don't think people realize, yes, the space budget seems like a lot if you just take that number by itself. But when you compare that number to the defense budget,
Oh my gosh.
which there's just no top, my defense budget would be off of my chart here, compared to the space budget. Is it really all that much money? And the answer is no. Like each individual might, I don't even know the numbers. You might be putting a quarter. Are we all putting a quarter into the space budget? Would you be willing to put $1? $2, $5 if it sent someone to the moon? I mean, even if it were $25 per individual to send someone to the moon, wouldn't it be cool? So it's really not all that much when you think about it, what each individual pays to man these missions, because there are 220 million of us or whatever. So each of us is only paying a very small fraction. And I think it's worth it. I would pay more, of my tax dollars to see more manned missions to the moon.
Yeah, I was just trying to do the math in my head. I mean, there's what, about 350 million people on Earth? Not on Earth, in the US, in the
Yeah,
US.
in the US, there's something like that.
And
I should
NASA's,
know this because all the coronavirus numbers keep coming up and they keep saying how many people are in the US. We're doing a new census, so we'll know for, definitively soon, hopefully.
will we? No, just kidding.
But will we? They've come to my house twice, so hopefully they're
Uh,
being very thorough.
but
So yeah,
I,
several hundred. There are several 100 million people in the U.S. alone,
yeah, and
and I don't know what our
let's figure like 300 million, and let's say that the budget is say around 21 billion. So that
right.
means, you're looking at about $70 per every person in the US.
Right. I mean, is that really a lot of every year for the whole year? People pay more than that for their Amazon Prime and their movie streaming service and daily coffee habit, you name it. You're not going to miss $70 in a year. So it's it's really not much.
Especially when we're
I would pay more.
considering we're spending about $30 billion a year on average to renew our nuclear arsenal, and I'm not sure what good
That
things
we
we're going
don't
to get out of that.
use. And that's just one tiny, tiny piece of the defense budget. The defense budget encompasses way more than that. And, I don't know that we need more weapons. I'm pretty sure we're highly weaponized at this point, and I think exploration is more important than additional weaponization.
Plus, especially if we do it together. I mean, there's talks about how even during the height of the Cold War, like the astronauts on the Apollo Soyuz mission, you know, uh, really did well. And look at the International Space Station. We like built that together, and
That's right. Science brings people together. It just does. It's a universal language. I know I say it's math, but they go hand in hand.
that's true. Now, I know you said you didn't want to be an astronaut, but if it was safe and affordable to like go to orbit, is that something you
Oh,
would
I would do that.
you do that?
Short term. Short. I would do it short term.
How about like a 2-week trip to the moon and back?
Oh, yeah, I'd probably do that. I don't know about spending a whole year on the International Space Station like they did with the twins to do the experiment, but I mean that was a fascinating experiment. I liked reading about it. I don't know if I want to participate in something like that. Although I did read that they were just they're exploring genes to help with the muscle loss on long-term voyages, and kind of have identified one that made this little mouse like super muscular, which was interesting. So it's neat to see that the scientists are working on problems so that once we get to the moon and we could maybe one day leave from the moon, getting to Mars will be even easier. So everybody's kind of working on all these problems, not for now, but for someday. And that's exciting too, to see people who are always working on someday. And I'm always excited to see what they're going to bring about.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting thing about the moon versus Mars. Well, like with the moon, you run into a problem, and you're able to mobilize like hundreds of engineers on the Earth to like figure out the solution to your problem and walk you through it. But then you're on this trip to Mars, and like the round trip time is like 15 minutes. To
Yes.
and it's like, okay, what was step B again? Uh, you know,
Yeah, the lag in communications is really kind of an issue there. I mean, the lag between the Earth and the Moon isn't that great. Yeah, I think it's in the seconds somewhere, but between Earth and Mars would be quite significant lag.
Indeed, and sometimes you have the pesky sun in the middle of it too.
Sometimes, yeah.
Well, I kind of envision this project as being a time capsule for generations in the future, who are like living in space and what have you to look at kind of people's perspective right before we enter this new space age. So I'm kind of imagining like a high school girl on the moon who's never been to Earth, and she's been assigned a project to write a paper on what people were thinking right before the new space age. What would you tell her?
What would I tell her? That if you can dream it, then you don't have to do it alone. Even if it feels impossible, someone will always help you get there. Just look at how many people it took us working together to get there. If we can do it, you can do it too.
That's a very good thing. I could definitely back that up to a little bit. I know it's a kind of like a much smaller project, but even this, trying to interview people every day, I mean, so many people are willing just to help me and they don't even know me. They're like, yeah, sure, if interviewing me helps you with your project, I'd be more than happy to do that. And, it gives you a warm feeling.
That's right. I mean, and it's not just that we're from the South, where Southern hospitality is a way of life. All people are like that. I think people are inherently good, and there are more good people in this world than not. And if you just look for them, they're there.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think the good people are not attention seekers.
That's
Most
right.
most of them, they just want to be left alone and go do their thing. But your car breaks down, they'll come over and say, "Hey, you need some help."
That yes, yeah. That's you know. And it could be 16 years since you've talked to that person, but it doesn't matter because
I
you
know.
still like them just this. It was wonderful to see your face again.
It's good to see yours too. I really appreciate the time, and we should talk more frequently.
Yes, yes, we should totally do that.
We've really set the bar low. I think we could do it
I think we can. This time we can't let in more than a decade go by. It has to be within the next decade. So,
within the next decade, for sure. Well,
well, thanks for letting me be a part of your project.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we'll be in touch.
All right. Bye now.
Bye bye.